I'm the kind of person who writes notes everywhere. I get an idea and I have to write it down immediately, because as quickly as it comes, it disappears. This means I'm left with tiny notes, big notebooks, work documents filled with ideas, seemingly brilliant discoveries, and other online spaces brimming with nonsense and scribbles from various meetings, sometimes months ago. The common denominator here is pure chaos. I've never planned my work more than a day in advance, or even a week, and frequently relied upon my unreliable mind to remember important dates and deadlines. So, understandably, at the end of 2020, I decided enough was enough. I wanted to become truly organised. I wanted to thrive in a seemingly unthrivable environment and provide structure to my newly dysfunctional life thanks to the pandemic. Enter Notion. Now, let me be clear, this video is not sponsored. Although if they'd like to sponsor me, hi Notion, I am a big fan. So I discovered Notion when I was watching one of my faves, Michelle B, and decided I would give it a go. So here's how I plan to organise my whole life in Notion so far. I'm still very much a beginner, but I have put a lot of time and effort into it to make it work for me, so hopefully this video can help you out. I started with my work life, and once that was in somewhat positive shape, I moved on to my personal life, so let's start there. Oh, and if you do like this video, please give it a thumbs up to help me with the algorithm, and subscribe so that you never miss another video in my habit and productivity series. Okay, so let's start with my dashboard. At the moment, I just have one that serves my personal and my work. Though in the future, I might keep this a little bit more separate to make sure that there's a better distinction between work and home life. But at the moment, I just have two simple columns to show you which is my work stuff and which is my personal. I also added in an inspirational quote from a Chilean post that I discovered over the holidays. And yes, I know it is a little pretentious, I must concede, but it is a beautiful reminder that the world and state that we're living in isn't forever, and it provides me with a little bit of hope every time I read it. You can cut all the flowers, but you cannot keep spring from coming. Okay, so let's go through each thing on my dashboard. The first thing is the most important, which is obviously why it's at the top on my work section, and it is my YouTube video ideas. I've separated this into months and then also categories, so like why videos, challenge videos, and then the specific month ones are where I lay everything in a bullet point, and then once I've decided to plan it and that is going ahead, then I change that into a page of its own so I can fully plan each video. I personally am a really big fan of the icons because it just gives me a visual kind of connection to what it is that I'm looking at. So obviously with the little red location sign, for me that means a plan. That means a page and an idea that I have decided on and it needs to get done. I have this similar thing for the other channels that I use, and they all tend to be related to what I'm talking about. Further down on that same one is Instagram content planner, and then Patreon, which I haven't yet started because YouTube planning has actually taken a lot longer than I imagined, but that's a good thing. It means that I'm putting a lot more time and effort into it, so I am happy about that. On the right side for my personal, I have my intentions for 2021. If you missed my video on how to reset for 2021, will have missed my intentions, so go and check out that video. But basically I decided this year to create intentions and then tiny habits instead of goals, because I'm trying to work towards a value-based life this year instead of a goals one, because every time I've looked for a goal and I've achieved it, I thought I would be like extraordinarily happy, and while I do have a sense of satisfaction, it kind of provides an end point rather than a continuous kind of look to improve myself or my channel or etc. Below that I have my travel plans, my habits, running races, and my fitness planner / 100 days challenge. So obviously running races is something I would like to do, and I've put in ones that I'm interested in, but I'm still battling a knee injury, so we'll see if that happens. The habits is where I take into account the tiny habits that are influenced and informed by my intentions. And I write these down because it helps me just to kind of remember what they are if I forget, or just to jot ideas down to think about what I'm interested in doing this year. These aren't necessarily habits I'm going to be doing every single day, but they are habits that I want to incorporate this year. Travel plans. Obviously, I've had a lot of time to think about where I want to live, and therefore where I can travel to more sustainably, because I don't want to be traveling a lot. It's been nice in 2020 to kind of forcibly being not allowed to leave the country, and it means that I had a greater respect for the privilege that we do have to just get up and buy a plane ticket and go here and go there. And yeah, I feel a lot more grateful that I have that privilege, and therefore I'm not going to use that privilege lightly. Of course, my boyfriend and I are planning to move in to live together. We were planning to do that last year, but that got derailed by 2020. So this year we do have plans to do that. So that comes into kind of everything that I'm talking about in terms of travel plans. And then my fitness planner. You'll notice when you look at my dashboard that I have my fitness plan in 100 days, but on the left I also have it under favorites. And it is because something I tick off every single day. So not only does it have a calendar where I can click in and basically show and write down the workout that I did do, it also has below it a ticker. So I can tick off, which is very satisfactory, each day that I am doing for my 100 days of sweat challenge. Now at the moment this is very much a personal challenge, but I might make a video about it, I am not quite sure, but it's just something to help me get back into the kind of swing of working out. Obviously I'm not working out hard every single day. I do this 80-20 rule where 80% of my workouts are just really easy, well not really easy, but they're not, working at full capacity, and then only about 20% of my workouts will I be working really hard. And in between every 3 days I have a break. So when I say a break, I mean I'll be doing active recovery work. So I will also be going for either a long walk or swimming, or although I can't swim at the moment, but things like that. So I keep it on the side as one of my favorites because again, it's something that I tick off every day and it just reminds me as well to do that. Okay, let's move on to the sidebar. As you can see, I have several things like today's plan and minute by minute. So we'll start off with those two. Today's plan is always prepared the night before as part of my shutdown ritual. This is something I learned from Cal Newport's book, Deep Work, and I mentioned this in my previous video as well. He says, "The process should be an algorithm, a series of steps you always conduct one after another. When you're done, have a set phrase you say that indicates completion." So I say shutdown complete, or I will just say mischief managed, because obviously I'm a Harry Potter fan. The importance of the shutdown ritual is due to the fact that many obligations left unresolved keep battling for your attention throughout the evening. It does force you to capture every task in a common list and then review these tasks before making a plan for the next day. While Newport concedes that having a shutdown ritual can be quite annoying, they're necessary for reaping the rewards of systemic idleness. So regularly resting your brain really improves the quality of your deep work when you do that intensely focused work for a prolonged period of time. This is really good for people who are studying, students in particular, or if you have a knowledge-based job where you have to learn a lot of things, or you're doing any kind of research. And for me, it's just really important. So that's my today's plan. It's part of my shutdown ritual. I write everything down, a very detailed plan for how and what I'm going to be doing the next day. So under today's plan, I have a tab called Minute by Minute, and this differs from today's plan because it tells me when I'm going to be doing things, not how or what, but when. So these two things work in conjunction with one another, and it's really important for me to be able to focus using these two platforms. So at the moment, I'm trying to spend a minimal amount of time in a distracted state, i.e. removing all distractions for a certain period of time. If, for example, I want to be doing deep work and research in the morning, I'll allow myself 90 minutes and I'll turn off all notifications. I'll put my phone elsewhere so I have no emails, no messages, no nothing. So it's uninterrupted time. But the best way for me to do that is to structure the minutes of my day. And the smallest amount will be 30 minutes, with the largest being 90 minutes. This also helps to reduce any kind of mental friction in the morning between deciding between two things, and also just mental fatigue of having to make lots of decisions. By creating minute by minute and today's plan during my shutdown ritual, it means that I am ready to go in the morning. I know exactly what I'm doing, when I'm doing it, and how I'm doing it. All of those mental decisions have been made for me, so I can just get on with the task at hand, and I'm loving it. I also have a task list, but that I'm still deciding on whether I want to use it or not, because I have the other two things, so I'm not quite sure that I need it, and I'm finding less and less that I'm actually using it. But it has been quite helpful to see any things that I need to get done, like where they are in their stage. Have I planned them? Am I doing them, or are they done? But I'm still deciding whether I use that one enough or not to warrant actually having it there. Okay, so after this is my reading list personal, and then my reading list work. I was about to start off this section by saying I'm not quite sure why my reading list is always scattered among different places. And then I realised I'd already admitted to the chaotic nature of my organisational skills. So it's probably obvious that I'm actually not quite sure how many books I read last year because at some point I just simply stopped writing them down. This year, however, I'm taking a much more formalised approach. Evenings are for my personal reading, and during the day I allot a specific amount of time for work and research reading. And as you can see, I note everything down in the columns. This helps me to keep track of what I'm reading, when I'm reading it, and whether I've got any helpful notes to go along with them. I have a section for summary, which allows me a quick glance to remember what the book or my notes are about. And then when you click into the book title, you may or may not find my notes that I've written down on the topic. Having a little column that indicates whether I've bought a book, read it, or I'm currently reading is also really helpful. It reminds me if I've put a book down and picked up another so that I eventually go back to it. I often forget if I've temporarily put a book down because it's either a little boring or heavy going, or even just very mentally intense. The title of the book and whether or not I've written any notes is the most important thing. This allows me to refer back to them when I'm creating a video that includes a point that one of these books has touched upon and would add some welcome research to back it up. This is one of my favourite ones, and I always write down notes after I have read a book, and I just like to make sure that I am keeping on top of everything. Okay, below this are my YouTube monthly planners, and arguably these are the most important things on my sidebar, because YouTube for me is my main work and my main source of joy when I'm creating, so I need to be able to sort of access these ASAP. So this is my calendar overview of what I have planned out for the month, both in a calendar format as well as a table. These are both important features of this page because the table allows me to see my progress on every single video, while the calendar allows me to space out my content to vary the topic whilst keeping the flow. The table has several important columns. It features the title of the video, the date it will be published, the title's keyword score, whether it's a sponsored video and who it is sponsored by, any notes, and then a checklist of whether it's been planned, filmed, edited, and uploaded. The calendar helps me to plan out everything so I can see how much time I will have to prepare the video, and in terms of sponsored work, to help spread them out so that they don't end up all on top of one another. Because I've been really bad at this in the past and it's all down to poor planning on my part. The last thing in my side tab is the journal, and that just came with Notion. I haven't used it yet, but it is something that I want to incorporate maybe into my tiny habit next year. Journaling is something I've done on and off, usually because of a challenge, but I am trying to get back to journaling because I've read so many benefits of journaling. So I'm keeping that there, but I'm concentrating on the few things that I have created so far. I am very much still a beginner when it comes to Notion, and I have a huge amount to learn. But what I do know is that this has been enormously helpful having everything in one place. In future, I will definitely be making more of an effort to separate work and sort of personal life. But for now, it works because at the end of my day, I will shut my computer down and I will leave it in this room so that I don't take it into my bedroom. I'm really lucky because at the moment during this third or fourth lockdown, I am still at my parents' house because it hasn't made sense to go back to London. So I'm very lucky to be able to have another space to work in. At home in my flat in London, my desk is very, very near my bed, and it really makes it hard to distinguish between work and home life. So I've been trying to leave my laptop in here. So at the moment, it doesn't really matter whether I'm having my personal stuff and whatever on here, because I just close it all off at the end of the day. If you're looking into using Notion, I personally use the free version, and I would highly suggest starting small, starting with just a dashboard where you have all your main items and really sticking to what's absolutely essential right now. You really do not need to create a million things all at once. It's really good to build it up slowly with the most important things at the forefront starting first. And the best thing about this is, honestly, you can learn as you go. That's what I've been doing. You can obviously read the help pages, but their help pages are actually helpful. So when you try to make something, or even just use one of their templates and just adjust it as you go. So that's one of the great benefits as well, is you don't have to create any pages yourself. You can just use all the templates that they have, and it's very intuitive. But again, obviously, if you have a problem, you can go to their help pages and they are actually helpful. I really hope that you've enjoyed this video, and if you have any tips for me because you use Notion and you're much better at it than me, then please leave them down in the comments, because I always really appreciate you guys and your tips that you give me. You guys give me the best advice, and I honestly appreciate you taking the time, so thank you in advance. Okay, if you did like this video, please give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. I'm going to be making another one of these videos in a few months' time when I've data captured a lot more, and then being able to show how I use it in a more, I guess, I don't know, well-seasoned approach, let's put it that way. Okay, anyway, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Bye.